Sup everyone, welcome to another video, and today I'm on a website you guys may or may not know what it is. Alright, to give you the short answer, this is like the Reddit of CN. This is where most CN players would go to talk about all their favorite games and media and whatnot, and it's actually the home to probably one of the most active Genshin Impact CN communities available. One of, right? They exist in many ways, shape, or form. And you know it's a big deal when you see stuff like Diablo 4 on the front page. You see all these other different titles, and you see like manga, you see League of Legends, you see everything. And HoYoverse themselves, get this, HoYoverse themselves has an ad essentially on the home page, right, of this website, advertising their most recent patch. So you know it's a big deal. HoYoverse has their eyes on this. So today I finally decided to cave in and just finally show you guys what CN is talking about in terms of Dehya. Right? What are they looking for? What are they asking for? Are they demanding change? What are their just general reactions to this character? Now I have a couple tabs open. I don't know if I can get through all of it. I might have to make a two-part series and maybe follow up with certain posts to see where this leads us. But I'm going to show you guys some of the more interesting ones that I found. So if you guys enjoy this type of content when it comes to player base, review, and input, make sure to subscribe and follow along. All right. So the general posts look all like this. They're kind of like different topics and discussions. So I went down and I found this one. Now this one might come as a surprise to you guys. Be like, what? Isn't this from EN, right? It's like all this English among the CN stuff. That is correct. This poster from NGA, I don't know if they're from outside of CN or they're from inside CN, but they took the post that we EN players or global players have concocted, right? These points that they're suggesting, hey, these are the changes we could make to Dehya to make her a somewhat decent character, and a better character, right? A more functional character at that. So they decided to slap this onto NGA and see what the CN players are thinking of. So if you guys haven't familiarized yourself with this, feel free to pause the video and just kind of read through this yourself. I don't want to go over it. I'm just here to show you guys what the CN player has to say. Okay, well, this user replied, right, for point number 1, that's fine, but due to ICD, I'm assuming they're referring to that it's not going to be a significant change, right? Number 2, referring to the fact that Dehya already has kind of self-sustained and she will not really die as long as she remains as an off-field character, self-sustaining herself. So this comment is slowly just kind of picking the changes apart. And then number 3 is saying like, nah, there's no way this is going to happen, right? It's not going to happen. Period. I remember this is just their opinion. This is not like, they're not like developers here. They're just saying like what they think. Number 4 is asking what kind of multiplayers do you want her to have? Like, be more specific, right? Are you saying like it should just be straight up better than what her C1 even offers her right now? Like, you got to redesign C1 as well. So this stuff needs to be more specific. And they concluded with like, unfortunately, none of this is really useful for the overall benefits of this character. So right here, this comment highlighted says, unfortunately, HoYoverse doesn't really listen to any foreign inputs. And what's even more unfortunate is that within CN, a lot of players are still kind of going like pretty copious for Dehya, believe it or not. At least that's what this comment is saying. Over the days that I've noticed, things have started to change, and people in CN really don't grab onto this stuff as hard. They kind of talk about it and it fizzles out because she is by no means a very popular character, especially now that she's on a standard banner, which is a much more permanent decision than, let's say, her kit in this example, right? So even if they were to fix her kit, she's still a standard banner character, which by all means would still make her a slightly weaker character. So CN kind of just like, okay, whatever. Alright, cool. So then now we have this post, which pretty much just says, people give it 3 or 4 weeks. People were just going to talk about other stuff. Alright, we're not going to even be talking about this, so why bother? And that's likely what HoYoverse is thinking as well. Be like, okay, just let them talk amongst themselves, let them get this movement started. Oh, how cute, get a couple thousand votes, maybe a couple tens of thousands, maybe. And then a week later, they're all going to be talking about Baiju, right? Who cares? So that's the kind of mentality these people have as well. Now moving on to the second page, we start having some comments that you can see are a little more positives, like I hope they succeed, followed by this emoji. So this is what I've seen in CN. Like, there are definitely people who want Dehya to be a good character. However, CN by and large doesn't really care, especially when it's not a crowd favorite or a character integral to the game. For example, people always like to talk about Zhongli's change when he first came out, but that was an Archon, right? Like, yes, it was an Archon associated with CN, but still an Archon nonetheless. Meaning that if an Archon were to come out and feel underwhelming, and remember people, this was when Venti was in his prime. Venti was just dominating every iteration of the biz, and then Zhongli came out saying he's an Archon of Geo, and Zhongli was really nowhere close when it comes to Venti, right? Comparatively. I mean, nowadays, how the roles have turned, tables has turned. But back in the day, it was just not close, and players demanded change because they're looking to Venti for scaling. So nowadays, Dehya is pretty much scaled to other standard banner characters. Now, yes, she does fail in comparison, but no one's really gonna cry a river over a standard banner character feeling underwhelming, if that makes sense. And this is where CN takes their stance mostly, is that she's a standard banner character, so it is what it is. Really, that's the attitude I'm getting. And then here we have a post of a CN player taking a post from another EN website, whereas Global says Hoyoverse only listens to CN, CN says Hoyoverse only listens to Global, and Hoyoverse actually says they listen to nobody. And you know, they get a pretty nice chuckle out of this because it's kind of true. If you guys think Hoyoverse only listens to CN, that is not quite true. Hoyoverse doesn't really listen to many players' suggestions or posts. They kind of do market research and then they make their products for the market. It's kind of like Apple or these big mega corporations wouldn't go out of their way to cater towards a certain demographic within their overall demographic of users, right? It's like Apple's not going to make a sudden change in their devices because, let's say, even tens or hundreds of thousands of people suddenly want something when they service millions, if not tens or hundreds of millions of users worldwide. So overall, they're not going to cave, right? They go by their own research to the market of what people will purchase as opposed to what people say they want, because oftentimes you don't even know what you want better than some of these companies do. So here's a post that says, usually if they want to increase character strength, it's usually done through artifacts or through new teammates, right? Different teammates, synergies to get you to pull new characters, get you to spend more time farming artifacts. They're not going to just change the character because that's too easy. That makes it way too easy for you to kind of cop out of spending more money or spending more hard-earned primo gems or spending more time and resin into playing their game, right? It's just how it is. Don't forget that when Yabiko first came out, how crazy the uprising was, and that was a limited character. So this comment is just highlighting, yeah, just forget about it. It's a standard banner character, right? And Hoyoverse needs to make all these sales for these other products that they're gonna line up to maybe try to get a quick buck out of Dehya. Here's this comment, maybe it gets a little more controversial, is saying that Hoyoverse deciding to put her on the standard banner is like the smartest thing they could have done for her, because on top of her already being a weak character from what I'd assume they were looking at leaks and people were already upset, and then now hearing that she's a standard banner character, it kind of justifies for her weakness. So they kind of copped it out of this one, and people can't go after them saying that she's a bad character or a weak character. But I mean, she's a standard banner character, period. I don't know about this one, right? This one feels very controversial, but I'll let you guys decide on that. Now, I think this comment really highlights what most people are feeling, right? We're already in patch 3.x right here, it says, and just release a 5-star character that, you know, is a side grade from Xiangling. They don't even care about 5 stars, power creep, non-power creep, whatever, but it's just like, they're so tired of playing Xiangling. They're so sick and tired of playing the same character for 2.5 years. They just want another off-field pyro support. Like, why can't they just do a side grade of Xiangling? Like, people are gonna pull for it, right? You know people are gonna pull for it. So why don't they do it? So maybe a little bit of frustration here. And you guys can see, I can keep scrolling this for hours, people. I've been looking at this stuff for days, and I'm just seeing kind of back and forth, and none of these posts really get much traction. You really don't see anything that can rival what was even remotely close, even like 5% of what Zhongli's uprising was in CN, and I'm sure it never will reach that height. I know people want justice for a character such as Dehya, but I think a lot of it is more emotional driven, coming from players who just feel like it's unfair for a dark skinned character to be a standard banner character, especially since what they did to Sino. Now, I'm not saying Sino is just as bad as Dehya, but certainly Sino did not live up to the potential most people had for him, especially looking at a character like I'll Hate Them can completely dominate all forms of content in various different team comps, Sino really left much to desire in comparison to now what Alhaitham is pulling off. So here, if you guys made it through this part of the video, they're talking about Dehya's burst skill, right? And they're saying that when Dehya's burst skill reaches obstacles, it just automatically cancels. As you guys can see in this footage, like she's using her burst, just casted it, swings once, swings twice, swings thrice, and boom, it ends. And people in the comment section are just like, yeah, this comment highlights it really well, which is true actually. When a strong character comes out, everywhere you look is surprise. It's like, wow, like what a pleasant surprise. Wow, this is so nice. Oh, we didn't know they could do this. Wow, look at that synergies. Everything's so good. Everything's so amazing. It just never ends. And then when you see a weak character, everywhere you look, it's just problems. Oh my god, there's this like bug with this character. Oh my god, the scaling is all messed up over here. Oh my god, this character has like limited synergies with a bunch of characters that I really like to play or that are meta, wink wink. And then apparently also doesn't work with the non-meta characters, and just all over the place. And this is really by design, it feels like. So great comment that highlights this kind of reality that we live in. This comment is slightly comical. What it says is like, it's hard to imagine Dehya didn't kind of like dig up the graves of the developers or something like that, because basically what they're saying, like, Dehya must have done something horrendous to the developers to deserve what they're doing back to her now. Kind of just a joke being like how ridiculous her kid is. It just felt intentional and personal at this point. And I think this comment really kind of sums it up for most people as well, is that why couldn't they just make her burst skill like a normal attack instead of forcing it to be some sort of non-normal like charge attack mode, whatever the hell this is. But obviously if they made her burst a normal attack, that would have made her incredibly good to use with Vaporize, which again, I've said this in the past, Dehya is not designed for Vaporize. And this was also echoed in some post comments in CN. Couldn't find it. I was like reading this stuff for hours, and I did come across a couple ones where people was like, why couldn't they do this? And in the comments said like, well, obviously the Dehya was not designed for Vaporize, and if they did that, she would be too good for Vaporize and hence lose her role in what HoYoverse kind of want to box her in towards, right? So unfortunately that is never going to happen, although it would have been really cool. Now of course this one is very straightforward, just like this burst is freaking hard to use. I do agree, like this burst is kind of all over the place, literally and figuratively. So I agree, and I think this guy kind of got the right idea, is that just don't level the Q, right? Just use her E, and that's mostly what she's used for. And honestly, I think if you want to play Dehya efficiently, using her as an off-field kind of E-bot is going to be the smartest way to go about this. And I urge you guys all to do this as well. If you do end up pulling a Dehya and want to utilize her, it's best to not over-invest into this character as of now. And that's gonna be it for now. I have a couple more posts I can show you, and I can also keep you guys updated with CN news if that's what you guys want. I don't know if this format is really interesting for you guys, whereas I do it live, see what comment has been posted, and I just kind of translate it live for you guys here. Or do you guys want a different structure? Comment down below. This video is getting a little too long, but I had a blast going through this. I always enjoy reading what the CN players have to say. Sometimes I get a great chuckle and laugh. I'm eating dinner and I'm just scrolling through or something like that. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. I'm sorry I couldn't bring you guys something a little more heated, more interesting, more juicy and drama filled. That's just what CN players are like most of the time. They're very logic driven as opposed to emotionally driven, like global players generally. Thank you guys for watching, and until next time, urge you to stay safe. Peace, bye.